غضبوهم يغفرون. When they are in a state of anger, not only they control it, but also they forgive. But then there's a time, there's a moment, there's a situation where perhaps maybe forgiving and just turning a blind eye, or as they say, turning the other cheek, is not a good idea. It will not work. And sometimes you have to confront, sometimes you have to fight back. Like mashallah, we have care here. They fight back. Because sometimes you have to. That's why we had Badr, we had Uhud, we had Khandaq, and we had all these expeditions that occurred. And the Prophet ﷺ, on many occasions, who was a rahmatan lil alameen, was the most forgiving, he was the most wise and the most knowledgeable. At times he would respond. So sometimes you have to respond, especially dhulm. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَهُمُ الْبَغْيِ ظُلْمٌ. When oppression happens, when someone is after your honor and dignity, when someone is after your safety or your self, your life, or your wealth, then you have to defend. You have to defend your honor, defend your wealth, defend your life, and of course, your family. At that, in some point to respond, and sometimes with force, it's not only a good thing, but it's actually needed. It becomes necessary. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned both. But subhanallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that if you are now to respond, you want compensation for what happened to you, جَزَاءُ سَيِّئَةٍ بِمِثْلِهَا. You cannot be an oppressor in responding. It has to be lower or equal. You cannot go beyond that. So that's very, very important to know. Some people think that, I'm going to respond and do whatever I want to do, right? Any respond is okay. No. جَزَاءُ سَيِّئَةٍ بِمِثْلِهَا. It has to, you cannot exceed, right? If someone punched you, you cannot say, I'm going to punch and I'm going to hit, I'm going to kick, I'm going to do everything, right? Just because I have the ability to respond. بِمِثْلِهَا. But subhanallah, our tradition is beautiful, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in many places where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the options, in many places, فَاصْبِرْ عَلَى مَا يَقُولُونَ. Sometimes Allah says, فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ. Praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَاصْبِرْ عَلَى مَا يَقُولُونَ وَهْجُرْهُمْ هَجْرًا جَمِيلًا. Let them alone. Stay away from them in a good manner. Sometimes it's tough response. But always forgiving and pardoning is always the higher ground. It's always the higher and moral thing to do. And that's why, even after that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَمَنْ عَفَا وَأَصْلَحَ فَمَنْ عَفَا وَأَصْلَحَ فَأَجْرُهُ. From the people, whoever forgives and pardons, his reward or her reward is upon who? The community? From care? From other people? No. We have limitations in our gratification of the incident or of the response. فَأَجْرُهُ عَلَى اللَّهِ. Allah is saying, I will reward that person. And subhanallah, in so many occasions, the only thing is to do patience. It's only to have patience, right? We mentioned Sumayya radiallahu anha in today's khutbah. Subhanallah, these names, Asiya, these names are very powerful. They're powerful role models, especially for our sisters, right? The Prophet ﷺ, he was a person that his dua, supplication was always accepted, was never rejected. He could have changed situations that were happening around him. As he was walking and he saw Sumayya radiallahu anha, right? And his family, Ali Yasir. Yasir, mashallah, amazing. We have so many amazing Yasir. Yasir is also an amazing name, right? The people, the family of Yasir. He saw them in difficulty, in shackles. They are being tortured every day. And the Prophet ﷺ is passing by. Sabran ya ala Yasir. Mashallah. Sabran ya ala Yasir. So we say to the people in Gaza, Sabran. Why? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَإِنَّ مَوْعِدَكُمْ الْجَنَّةِ. Your destination is Jannah. As I was just hearing that we are on the last bus to home. Our home is Jannah. And you have grumbles and all kinds of situations on that last bus home. You just have to get through it. Just get home. And then you'll be at ease. You'll be at comfort. So sometimes you just have to wait it out and be patient. That's our history. That's our legacy. It's not always that we get what we ask for. Sometimes when you see the reward on a day of judgment, when those people see the reward on a day of judgment, subhanAllah, there's a hadith that a person, a shaheed, who's been killed, his life was taken, on a day of judgment, he will say, after seeing all the reward that I'm getting, I wish I could go back and that will happen to me again and again and again for the reward that I'm seeing today. So when you are confronted, when you are harassed or you going through difficulty, think about Jannah. Think about the reward, the sabr, the patience that you will get. People will say something, forgive. At some point, you may have to stand up and prevent it. That's why some of the pious people and people of knowledge and people of ilm and people of honor and dignity, if they were challenged, and because their honor and the dignity of their status, of their maqam, of their state was challenged, and then people will maybe care less about them, they had to defend their honor and they had to fight back. So sometimes you have to fight back. But فَمَنْ عَفَا وَأَصْلَحَ فَأَجْرُهُ عَلَى اللَّهِ وَلَمَنْ صَبَرَ, and Allah ends وَلَمَنْ صَبَرَ وَغَفَرَ. Whoever is patient, well, and forgives. فَإِنَّ ذَلِكَ مِنْ عَزْمِ الْأُمُورِ. That's a very high level of our great affairs. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us. We don't want to ask for any difficulty. We don't want to ask for these trials. We don't want to be tested in ways that we cannot handle. We always ask for afiyah, but when we are confronted, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us patience and give us the wisdom for that. Barakallahu feekum. Assalamu alaikum.